But for me, how I've been able to take on the challenges and to embrace the opportunities to achieve success has been rooted in how I was raised and the importance of how I was raised in terms of knowing that I had a role to play, and in particular, in my case, a leadership role in our community. And I was always taught that ultimately you had to use your skills such as they are to ultimately contribute and to improve quality of life. So it's those learnings and teachings that I've carried through in terms of different experiences that I've had. And, I am incredibly proud to be an Indigenous person in this country, and I'm equally proud to be a Canadian. And for me, and my approach to leadership and challenges has been with that backdrop of being an Indigenous person, but also being a Canadian, and what that represents and reflects in terms of the reality of my life and living in both worlds and having to figure out how to continue to live in both worlds, but also, and importantly, to bridge between them. My Indigenous reality, living and growing up in and around my reserve and with my family, and going out and becoming a lawyer and being a prosecutor and then getting involved in politics. So some of the challenges for me from very early on was recognizing that individuals and people treated me differently simply by virtue of the fact that I was Indigenous and came from, the other side of the tracks, so to speak. So I think that ultimately has been one of my biggest challenges, but also presented one of the greatest opportunities that I think I've had, and that I think is an opportunity for all of us in society in Canada to embrace, which is how do we bridge different worldviews? Because there's Indigenous worldviews. Everybody has a worldview. Everybody comes from some place. But for me, how I've been able to overcome that is, being rooted in who I am, and knowing where I come from, and being taught to be, and being proud of who I am, and knowing that my voice matters has enabled me to overcome a lot of those realities, but also recognizing, in order to get to a place in our country, in our society, that is reflective of and embraces everybody's voice, that we have to do our part to overcome those challenges of exclusion and discrimination and racism. So I think that's an ongoing challenge for all of us, but through that, and through understanding different lived experiences and different realities and breaking down those barriers, we can achieve a great amount of success. And, I can look at the various roles that I've played and see successes in those roles, but also that constant reminder that we still have a long way to go in terms of the challenges.